Good morning. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Raw. It's a special edition. Usually we come live on Friday evenings. Today is Sunday. In the United States, it's 11 a.m. West Coast time. I have a special guest this morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're coming in from. His name is Jeff Fasano. I'd like to welcome Jeff to the broadcast today. Welcome to the studio, Jeff.
Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm doing well. What I'd like to do is just take a moment here to post the show on a couple of different pages while we wait for people to join us live on the show, as well as those that are not live that will be coming through on replay. But if you are here, I'm excited to have Jeff on the show today. Jeff, I met Jeff recently in the last month or so, but I had heard a lot about you from Deb G over at Spirituality Gone Wild, who you are a big fan of Deb's, and decided to reach out to you and see if you'd have an interest to come onto the show. And I'm excited that you accepted graciously to be here. And really, I'd like to learn more about, for you to share with the community today, a little bit about your backstory, about your life growing up, it's about your career, what you had been doing, and how you ended up to where you are today. And then we'll take it from there. So I'm going to invite you to introduce yourself and start conversing, sharing some of your story. Meanwhile, I'm going to push out to different pages of mine here.
Wow, that's a big question, Jay. Where should I start? I think I'm going to start with the story that we were just having before we went on the air about how I changed my life right before I turned 40 years old. And I think there are many people out there who are maybe living lives right now where nothing is resonating. They're in a job that they hate. Their life is just where it is. And they're looking to make a change in their life, looking to shift and change their life, and just do something different, or really connect deeper within to their passion, their soul, their calling. Because really, what's happening if you're living in a life right now that may not be resonating for you, you may be angry, you may hate your life, you may hate your job. And you're looking at your life and you're just trying to get out of it, but you have the constraints of the world around you, the illusions of the world around you. I'm a trance channel, and I channel the energy of Archangel Michael. And actually, part of his message for the month of September is about looking at the illusion of the third dimension and the illusion of the world, and how the constraints of that illusion hold you in a life that you may not be liking or living. And to go back to what we were talking about, when I got out of college for 18 years, I worked in the corporate world, suit and tie every day in various different places, the last 10 years of which I worked in the World Trade Center in New York City. And I was dating a woman the last couple of years of that, who turned to me and said, "Jeff, you hate your job, you hate your life. The only time you're ever happy is when you're with me." And I looked at her when she said that, and it really didn't register. But within that time, I went back to school to study photography. I went back to Parsons in New York to study photography on the suggestion of a friend, because she knew that I loved it. And I did that and studied for 2 years with a guy by the name of Mario Cabrera. And then I met Terry, and I still was going to school, still doing that. And I was still, photographing and doing things, and I would photograph her and her kids and my brother's kids and all that good stuff. But it was when she said that to me, "Jeff, you hate your job, you hate your life. The only time you're ever happy is when you're with me." And with her, yeah, it was great. The energy there, the connection was there. I used to photograph her all the time, and we had a fantastic time. And I did hate my life, and I did hate my job. But I didn't really realize that we split up. And then all of a sudden I was in that job and I was miserable. I was completely miserable. You would not want to know me from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. I was, you didn't want to be near me. So I didn't know it at the time. And I was 30, 32 years old or something like that. And then one day, leaving the World Trade Center, getting on the one train, going to the gym, and I lean my head back and I hear as if she was sitting right next to me, Jeff, you hate your job, you hate your life. The only time you're ever happy is when you're with me. And my eyes opened up, like just opened up. And I went, I think it's time to grow up. And I was 33 years old. So what I did is I went home. When I got home, I took out a legal pad. At the top of the legal pad, I wrote, what do I want to be when I grow up? Now, keep in mind, I wasn't studying metaphysics or doing any of this work at that time, even though I come to realize that it was in my soul past and it was in my DNA, really, that this was all happening in my life. So I made a list, and I worked on that list till probably 11:30 at night, and I listed everything that I could possibly do or want to do. I mean, that list was almost 2 pages. Right in the middle of that list was photography. And I put it down, had something to eat, got back, worked in the list, looked at it, read it. And I'm saying about 11:30 that night, literally in 3D, off the page comes photography. And then I felt it and I knew it. And I just felt a whole different resonance or vibration or a knowingness in my heart that this is it. And I woke up the next morning and dedicated every single waking minute to doing this and really started to extract myself from that 9 to 5 corporate life in my suit every day. And then I went back to school, went to School of Visual Arts, took another class. And then I remember talking to my father. My father, like, intrinsically knew that I found what my passion, I found it. And then for the next 4 years, I just did everything that I could do to build that and literally dedicated my entire life to doing that. So other than 9 to 5 every day, and I used to bring my camera to work every day, I built a dark room, I bought lights, and I just dedicated every moment and every minute to doing that. Built up a portfolio, really immersed myself in the craft of it, stayed friends with Mario Cabrera, who I studied with for 2 years at Parsons. And then October of 1998, it hit me. It's time to, I will hand in my resignation at my job. And then the resignation was, I'm going to quit my job. It just so happens that I think December 31st, 1998 was on a Friday. And that would be my last day, not at that job, my last day of that life. My whole thing was, I want my own life. I want my own life. I didn't like, I mean, the angels come to us in our lifetime. And Terry was an angel that came to me. Not only did we have a blast for 2 years and really connected, and I learned an awful lot, but she's the one who said, Jeff, you hate your job, you hate your life. The only time you're ever happy is when you're with me. And I realized that I didn't like my life. It wasn't so much the job, was the life. Later on, I realized really what I was doing. It was all about, my entire life was dedicated to get my father to say, I love you. And I realized that years later, I mean, getting into and working with Robert Baker at Children of Light as my therapist. But that was it. But the thing about it, and so in 1998, right before I turned 40 in 99, I quit my job. And I dedicated everything to creating a whole new life. And that was pretty much 20 years ago.
There's a part of your story. There's a part of your story that I heard you share before. I'd like you to just touch on it a little bit. At one point, when you had made the decision that photography is where you wanted to shift to, and you broke the news to your dad, I'm going to paraphrase you, but so share with us, what did your dad say to you? Do you recall?
Well, actually, I didn't break the news to him. When I got into work that next morning after writing that list, he called me. And because of our deep soul connection, which he did have, he said to me, "So you found it?" I said, "Found what?" He goes, "You found what you want to do." And I went, "Yeah." I said, "I want to quit my job right now." He goes, "No, no, no, you're not ready to quit your job. Because you will quit that job definitely, but there won't be a lot of fanfare around it, meaning there's not a lot of drama around it." Which meant in the long run that I realized is that when we do shift our lives, it's done in neutrality. It's done with a calm knowingness inside of us. We're not doing it through the hit of our nervous system and making it an emotional choice. It's done through a knowingness, and it's just an easy transition. In that moment, I was so hyped. My nervous system was on megawatts. It was, I found it. And my father said, "You'll quit your job, and the day will come where it will just happen. You will go in and you will do it." That's exactly how it happened. And my father was right. I wasn't ready to quit my job because I had nothing. What was I going to bring to the world? In those 4 years, I created an incredible portfolio. I even got jobs as a photographer in those 4 years. But I dedicated 4 years of my life, almost like going to grad school, of putting that together. So when I did leave my job and transition to a new life, I was really, really ready. I was really ready to do it. So I had something as an artist to bring to the world to show people, and thus it was an easy transition.
So
But he knew.
so the day came. Somehow one day you woke up and you had the intuition. You knew that day was a day that you were ready to resign. How'd that play out for you?
No, I didn't. I woke up, went to work as normal. I used to bring my camera to work every day. I used to go out and shoot at lunchtime. So this one day, I remember it was October of 1998. I went out for lunch, took my camera, I'm walking around, and it just hit me. I turned around from where I was. I walked back to the World Trade Center into my office and typed out in 1998 on a typewriter my resignation letter, pulled it out, signed it, and walked into my boss's office and handed it to him just like my father said it would happen. Like it was a natural progression in my soul's divine plan. I walk in, hand it to my boss. He looks at me, he goes, "Wow, Jeff, I was waiting for this today." I handed it to him, and in it says, "I'm resigning as of December 31st, 1998. So it was another couple of months after that. That's the way it went down. And I just went back to my office and went to work. My father called me. He said,
Yeah.
"Oh, you did it." And he knew. That was our soul connection.
Why do you think your boss knew that it was coming? Do you think there was a soul connection there, or just he sensed your energy that you had kind of detached emotionally from your position?
Well, I think that when it's all playing out, somehow people who are connected in certain ways. I mean, I had been at that job for 10 years.
Wow.
And believe me, I loved all the people I worked with. They're amazing, amazing group of human beings. Beautiful, beautiful people. And one of the, my friend Donna one day said to me, "So what do you want to do with this photography thing?" I said, "Shoot music. I love music." And that's an exercise I use. What brings you the greatest amount of joy in the world? Music. That's music for me. Then what do you do that brings you the greatest amount of joy? Well, I love photography, so I married them together. She said to me, hey, my friend works at RCA Records. I said, Donna, could I bring my portfolio up there? I did, dropped it off to the RCA classical department. 3 weeks later, I had a job shooting James Galway in Chicago while I was still working my day job.
Wow.
And so the connection that we all had at that job, who I'm still friendly with them today. They were amazing, amazing people. They knew, you can sense things.
So one of the things that's on my mind is there's a lot of artists, a lot of people that are musicians, that are photographers, that paint. Not everybody, a lot of people go to school for their art and they attempt to pursue it, and then they don't quite ever achieve a level of success that's measured in this country primarily by the level of income that we earn. Can we make enough money to support ourselves following our passion, our art? And so, when I looked at the who's who list of Jeff Fasano, I was absolutely blown away. Your website, that when you click on clients, it's beyond, to me, comprehensible how someone can have such great success. You have been a very blessed man. I'm going to share just some of the musicians alone. I mean, this could take a full show, but some of the ones that stand out to me, some of the ones that I'm familiar with: Joan Osborne, Linda Perry, Quincy Jones, Chris Christopherson, Chris Isaac, T-Bone Burnett, Nick Lau. Oh my! It's Jeffrey Osborne, Stephen Still, Judy Collins. The list is endless. And then when I look at some of the stars, celebrities: Blair Underwood, Kiefer Sutherland, Felicia Rashad. It's James Earl Jones, again, Quincy Jones. It's unbelievable. The Morgan Freeman. The list goes on and on. So here's my question. A lot of people are talented. There's a lot of talent out here in the world. Why do you think that you achieved the level of success in your second coming, in your, we'll call it your awakening of your soul to follow your passion, whereas others have not? That's a question. I've got a few more behind that on the photography, and then we'll move forward.
Well, first of all, when I did leave that world, I knew I would never work a job again. I just knew I would never go out and work a job again, because I did almost 20 years of working a job. What I came to realize when I met Robert Baker and started working with him and studying metaphysics and studying all of this, the reason why I was miserable is because I was not in alignment with my soul's plan. I mean, I was, because that was part of my soul's plan. What was happening, the reason why I hated my job and hated my life, is because I was ready to move to the next level of my soul's plan. So the way I look at this is that when we're ready to connect to the next level of our soul's plan, you just do it. So that's what I was doing. I was miserable, so I was ready to take another step. And the next step happened to be creating a new life. Photography was just the doorway in the vehicle, because I loved doing it and I loved it. I didn't know how, believe me, Jay, I had no clue how any of this was going to work. I really didn't. All I knew was it would. because there was no way that I was going to ever work a job again. And I just knew it would work. Plus, when you find your quote unquote passion, and let's take a step back. For 4 years, I lived, breathed, and slept photography. The way you do this is, and Mario Cabrera, who was my mentor and who I worked with for 2 years, said that's what as an artist, that's what you have to do. If you want to make it work, and it's not even about making it work, you're just following the path and making sure that you're where you need to be all the time, and you're open to what's going on. But there's a level of, and all of those people that you named and many more have done the same thing. And I learned this through Mario. He said, if you really want to do this and make this, and do this, you got to live, breathe, eat, and sleep it. I mean, that's all I did. I mean, because you love it so much, it's like, what else am I going to do? I asked James Earl Jones when I was working with on Cat on a Hudson Roof on Broadway. I asked everybody, so how did you get here? How did you get to this level of where you are in your career? Remember, James looked at me and said, what the hell else would I be doing? I live this. And as an artist, if you're going to be successful, it's a 24/7 thing. You are living, breathing, eating, and sleeping it. In those 4 years leading up to this, and this is answering your question, and here's how the universe puts us in synchronicity with things. One night I was just sitting back on my couch and I was channel surfing, and I looked on PBS, and it was an old television show, black and white, with somebody interviewing Frank Sinatra. And the guy asked him, so what would you tell young singers out there who want to begin this and make this a career? He said, well, when you get up in the morning, you're thinking songs. When you're making your coffee in the morning, you're thinking songs. And then when you're making your breakfast, you're thinking songs. And then when you're eating breakfast, maybe you're writing songs. And then after that, you're thinking songs and writing songs. And then when you have lunch, you're thinking songs and writing songs. So if you catch my drift, that's what Sinatra was saying. You're living this. And the only reason why you're living it is because you're not even thinking about living it, because you found a passion that there's nothing else that drives you other than that. So that's what I did, and in many ways continue to do, but that's what I did back then. Like I said, for 4 years, I was eating, breathing, sleeping it. I used to have photo parties in my apartment in New York City. And I had people come over, put up a background, and I'd photograph them, and we'd be hanging out and partying till like 3 or 4 in the morning. And then the next night, I was developing film and making prints. And that was my life for all of those years. And then going out and meeting people. And it was just because I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I really like doing this. And then you just show up. You'd show up to places and you'd meet people and you would just do it. And there was a drive to do it. And also a drive to be the best at it. And not the best with competition in mind, because in art, there's no competition in my mind, in how I look at it. But Mario Cabrera told me this when I was back in Parsons. He said, if you want to make a living at this, if you're going to get paid cash money to do this, you better know every which way to give your client what they think they need. 5 ways to do that. Then you better know 5 other ways to give your client what they thought they needed, but what they need, but they never knew it. And based upon those 5 ways, you gave it to them. So what he was telling me was, you better know this. And it was just dreaming. I mean, walking down Times Square one day and saying to my friend Maria, I'm going to have a billboard. My photography is going to be on a billboard in Times Square. And that was in 2000. And in 2012, I had billboards not only in New York, but all over London.
So what I'm hearing you say is you basically, if I may paraphrase you, you set the intention. You didn't go in with doubt. You went set the intention big because you just somehow you knew that that's what you needed to do to be successful. I want to ask you, not
Well, hold on one second, Jay. I think it's important to take the word successful out of this
okay.
because that is placing something on this that is an illusion outside of ourselves. Because what my definition of success is probably different from your definition of success. So when we throw the word success, and believe me, I'm talking from a place, I never thought of it that way. All I was thinking was I had so much excitement about doing this that success, I, I just want to do this, and I want to photograph. I just want to do this, and I want to get out in the world and do it and do it and do it and do it. And all of the people that you named that I photographed just came. As you like I said earlier, when I would shoot James Galway for RCA Records, I would ask him how did you get here? When I would shoot people at that level, I would always ask them, so how did you get here? How did you get here? How did you get here? And most of them know how good they are. There was an innate thing within them that knew that what they had to offer the world was important. That's when I started to say, wow. And that all came into place when I started studying with Robert Baker. It was how much do you honor and value you? James Galway said to me, I knew that the Berlin Philharmonic needed me. And there was no ego involved.
I love what you just said there. There is no ego involved because, when I use the word success, I'm speaking from the perspective of a typical, let's say, an American definition of what success is. And I love what you just said is that when you take the ego out and you're doing the work because it's just what you want to be doing, you just feel in your soul that you weren't even thinking about it from the perspective of how much money can I make, how successful will I be. You just were owning, you were just showing up and doing what you love from within. That leads me to this question, which is, you mentioned very early on that all you really truly wanted was your dad's acknowledgement and your dad's love. So tell me a little bit about when you made the decision and you then shifted into high gear, following your passion and following what you knew in your soul you needed to be doing. How did that impact your inner desire and needs to get your dad's approval and love?
That wasn't even there anymore, because photography. Okay, so when we connect fully to our soul's plan and we follow it, and we can feel that knowingness. Archangel Michael calls it the knowingness in our heart space, which is a knowingness in our soul's path. I knew so deeply that this was the next step in my life, that I had to do it, but I really, really was excited about doing it. Mm. So when I did that, so when we do that, so if we're in, it's a roundabout way of answering this. So if like when I started this, I said I was in a job I hated and a life I hated. So just think about that, folks. I'm in a job I hate, and I hate my life. I'm not content with my life. So we look at that and just close your eyes and say, "Oh wow." Like I did. I closed my eyes in the subway and I opened them and I said, "Oh wow. I got it. I need to grow up. I need to do something here." Just think about that. I hated my life. I hated my job. Wow. now I want to create a life that I enjoy, that brings me joy, that's fulfilling, where I'm excited. The excitation for life is there. I had none of that. So I was hitting that crossroads of doing it, but the knowingness in it was so deep because I was connecting to my soul's path, the next step of my soul's path. So when I left my job, I was seeking probably my father in other ways, but I came to realize if I looked at my life from graduating college in 1980, I took a job in the same business my father was in. I wound up getting married 2 days after my birthday. My father got married 3 days after his birthday. I was the same age my father was when he got married. If I looked at the lineage, everything I did subconsciously was to get my father to say, I love you in the same business. And so what was really happening is that that's what I was really doing. I learned that later working in therapy with Robert Baker. So when I decided that, and it's not even like I decided, it was like, okay, here we go. I'm doing this. And I never lost any sleep. It was just like, I'm doing this. And had a plan. The funny part about it is my mother called me one day and says, are you sleeping well at night? And I said, yeah. Why? He goes, your father's not. I said, why not? He goes, he's so worried about you. Because what my father taught me was get a job, get benefits, make sure you're safe and secure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Making a life as an artist will show you the myth and illusion of safety and security because it's all an illusion. I said that earlier. The illusion that we're taught out in the world of, oh no, I have to retire at 65. I need my IRA. I need this. I need that. I need all of this stuff. We're all taught that. You're going to make a life as an artist. Believe me, folks, you're not thinking about any of that. You're thinking about creating art from your soul to give to the world. That's what you're thinking about. And then receiving in kind and all that good stuff. So yeah, there are parts, but this was the step to move me into understanding my relationship with myself and my relationship with my father. And like I said, this was a doorway. And in the same year that I quit my job through a photography shoot and a woman I met there, I met Robert Baker at Children of Light that became my therapist, my mentor, my teacher, where I started studying Jeff. So when we open the door into that next step of our soul's plan, start living our passion in our life, doors open to the life that we're supposed to be living. So if I stayed at that job, more than likely, I would never have met Robert Baker. If I would have stayed in that safety and security that I'm going to have a pension, that I'm going to have benefits, and I'm going to have all of this stuff, and was miserable just because it was safe and secure, yikes. But I was following something deeper inside of me that eventually got me to shift my relationship with myself and then shifted my relationship with my father and my mother.
You know, I'm listening to you and I resonate with so much of what you're sharing. But something that strikes me is you use the way you speak, the language that you speak within. The average man, I'm going to generalize here, doesn't speak using the word soul. It really has very limited understanding of their inner connection to themselves. How did you end up? Were you always that way? Did you always have an awareness of your internal being, your internal self? Or was there an event that happened in your life that you began to have an awakening and understanding of that there's something deep within Jeff Fasano that is more on the inside than is on the outside. Because, you know, the average guy, you just don't hear him speak the way you're speaking. So when did that happen for you? Because you just didn't wake up one day and it happened. Or
I
did
think
it?
it happened just the way I explained it. I was always a deep feeling person. And so I'd feel things deeply. I would go on feel and stuff like that, which is what I was doing, you know, with this. Like I said, angels come into our life, and that woman said, you hate your job, you hate your life. And I was supposed to be on this path of spirituality, of channeling, of all of that, as I am now. So I was getting the nudges in some way, shape, or form from the universe through proxies here, like Terry. But I don't know, man. It was just I was just following I was feeling inside of me. And, you know, my friend's girlfriend at the time saying, Jeff, you love photography. Why don't you go to the new school and study photography? And I heard, yeah, oh wow, yeah, let's do that. And then I meet Mario Cabrera, and then all of a sudden I've always had a love for it. You know, ironically, when I graduated high school, my father bought me a camera. You know, so it was all in the works. And it's like I said, I wasn't studying this when my friend's girlfriend said to do that. It was important. I went, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And then I meet Mario, and then it was yes, 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 just because I felt it. I felt it inside of me. And that's the basis of the teachings. It's called resonant causation. You know, we get stuck in our heads about, like my father, what I was taught by my father: get a job, get benefits, be taken care of, get a pension, you know, you know, and then you're fine. And he was a Depression era person, but I was miserable. Now, the point is that, do I want to be miserable, or do I not want to be miserable? I mean, it really is came down to that. And I had an angel that came into my life. So there's all this just things. Oh, that feels right. I didn't use the word resonate at the time, and I wasn't even. But oh yeah, you know, Ro, I think I'm going to go to the new school. Wow, yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And then I just kept on saying yes. And one of the things that Robert Baker, his grandmother, taught him was said, Robbie, just say yes. Just say yes. We get caught up in the illusion of what is happening in the world. And we're all taught that the reason why I said to you, let's let go of the word successful, because what is that? It's really fulfillment.
Yeah.
Successful is a subjective word. You know, my success is not your success. If I touched one person in this world, I could call myself successful. But it was never about that. It was about so much more than just becoming a photographer who people knew. Or I never thought about half the things you talked about. I mean, I never even thought about doing. They just were there. And I wanted a job, or I wanted to I wanted to do this. And I worked my butt off of studying the craft of it, and still do.
How much of a factor did fear play into any of this for you? How did you manage it? Did you work through it, or was it something that really wasn't a challenge for you?
I would know. Nope. Like I said, the day I left my job, I knew I would never work again.
Wow, beautiful.
I just knew like I'm never going to work again. As years go by, things happen, and you know you move into those places of angst, anxiousness. When's the next job coming? When's this happening? You know, because it's like you don't know when your photo shoot's going to come. You don't know when the next jobs are coming. You just don't. No matter how much marketing you do, no matter all of that stuff, whatever that is, you never know when the next gig's coming. So you'll learn a lot about, you know, life and how to live life as an artist. But you're an artist, man. You're an artist. An artist is creation. You're creating things. You're not. It's not a. You're not punching the clock at 9 o'clock in the morning and doing a task for people. I'm not a doctor. You know, an artist is an artist. And did I have a lot of fear in my life? Yeah, a lot of things came up. But as I realized, all of those challenges came along so I can take my tools, get new tools, reach out to people and learn. So when the challenges came along and I moved through them, that I can help people move through those challenges to show them the angst and the fear and all of those feelings that I went through, you don't have to go through. Because all what's coming up really are just feelings. Because it has nothing to do with the illusion outside of you. And here's the fact: jobs always come. Gigs always come. They just do. They just come. They come. They do.
I'd like to fast forward to the present right now. I'm aware that recently you suffered the loss of a friend in the last couple of weeks. Someone that I believe special in your life. And I'd like you to touch on a little bit on that experience for you, what it felt like to go through that, A, and also B, why do you think things turned out the way they did for your friend? What was he lacking in his life that drove him to take his life?
Love of self.
What is that?
Honoring and valuing and love of self. Now, earlier, I've been touching on our soul's plan and what's in our soul's divine plan. What my friend did by taking his own life was in his soul's plan. He came to the end of his existence in the 3D as a human. And in his plan, that's the way it was supposed to go down. Because we're connecting, always connecting. Everything that we do is soul related. Even if we're in a life we hate, it's part of your soul's plan. But we have choices within that soul plan. My friend made the choice he did because he has a choice of free will and freedom of choice, but it was in his soul's plan. In this incarnation, in this lifetime, his wounding inside of him was just very, very deep, based upon his history, and he had a challenge of allowing love to land inside of him, to see that he was worthy of love. Peter was a principal dancer in New York City Ballet. Peter was a rock star. He hit the heights as a ballet dancer that millions of people aspired to. He had Paul Taylor. George Balanchine wrote a ballet for Paul Taylor, specifically for Paul Taylor. Paul Taylor then took that and did it with my friend Peter Frame. Could have done it with 1,000 other dancers, but he chose Peter. Peter performed it. Millions and millions of people saw that at New York City Ballet. He hit the heights. And then from that, when he retired, he began to teach people and teach kids. And he was studying this work. And he was helping a lot of people. But the challenge was to see his worthiness of opening his heart to allow himself to be loved. And whatever that wounding was, it was just a challenge for him to actually let it land, because of the feelings that came up and the wounding with it was so intense for him, and it was a challenge for him to do that. And then whatever was happening in his life, which I knew a lot about because I had a conversation with him the Monday before this happened, was the choice. This was the choice. This is the only choice that he could possibly think of to relieve himself of the pressures of the illusions of this third dimensional realm. Like, I'm in financial problems. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. This is what's happening. And it's all happening in this world out there. As opposed to seeing how abundant he was inside of himself, that when you move to that consciousness, the universe is not going to let you down. The universe will never let you down. You will move through it. You will make the choices, but it's about being open to allow yourself to be loved and helped. And one of the things because I was in that place at a place in my life, and I just realized I have to learn how to ask for help. I have to open my heart to let people help me. I have to move past my ego and my judgment and shame that I'm asking for help. But you want to know something? There are a hell of a lot of people out there that want to help you, that will give you money and never ask for it in return. Why? Because how you maybe touched their lives, but you never knew it because your heart was shut down. So when I look at it this way, there was a part within him that just, I feel that it was a challenge for him to really let love land and know that he was totally loved for who he is. And right where he is, no matter where you are, you're loved. No matter where you are, you're loved. There is going to be somebody, probably many people, who are going to come out and want to help you. Why? Because more than likely, you've touched their life in some way, shape, or form. And more than likely, we're always worthy. And more than likely, many, many people out there want to help you move through where you are. We just need to be open to let the mask down, break the wall open, and allow ourselves to just be loved, no matter where we are.
What do you think people have that? I'll refer to it as a simple term: the roadblock, not willing to ask for help. Why are they not willing to let their guard down to expose their true authentic self to that extreme? What prevents people from doing that take them to that extreme, to the next extreme?
Well, I think there are so many answers to that question. Our wounding inside of ourselves, what we've been taught by mom and dad. My mother and father never asked for help from anybody, and that's what I learned. It took me up until 2016 in California, where I was in a really, really precocious, funky place, that I had no choice other than to ask for help and to move through that illusion that I was taught by my mother and father. They never asked for help. They did everything themselves. And the reason why? My father, nobody's going to help me. Why would anybody help me? There's a million people out there that will help you. My father never even asked for help because he didn't think he was worthy to be helped. So there's that inside of us, what we've been taught. You know, that pride thing that guys have. Oh, I'm too proud to show you that I'm feeling vulnerable right now. I'm too proud to show you that I'm down and out and I need help. I'm too proud to show you that in this place right now, I really need, if you can lend me $2,000. I'm too prideful. Barbara Baker, prideful is such an illusion. It's a mask. It's a wall that we put up. So there's that pride thing involved. People don't. Then parts of me are being revealed. If I go out to you and open my heart for help, then you're going to see me for really who I am. Then I have to open my heart and strip that mask down, and then you're going to see, and then you're going to judge and shame me. So there's that fear of, well, they're going to judge and shame me, but really all we're doing is judging and shaming ourselves. Most likely, most people out there won't judge and shame us. So there's that factor in it. So there's all these factors into why people build that mask, build that wall around our hearts, because of all of that stuff. And that's all illusion. That's all myth. That's all stuff that we were taught by mom and dad. And what it really comes down to is, what are you feeling? I'm feeling vulnerable. If I'm feeling vulnerable, then I must be vulnerable. So I have to be stoic and hide things. And so there's all these factors involved, and all these feelings involved, and all these things we were taught, especially men who, wow, if I ask for help, then I'm not a man. If I show my feelings, then I'm not a man. This is not what my father taught me. My father taught me to be strong and yeah, but you want to know something? That could lead you to the same place all the time. Plus, it's going to take a toll on you emotionally and physically as well anyway.
How do you, having lost a very close friend of yours, how do you go through this grieving process in a healthy way? Have you figured that out yet? Because we all lose people that we love, that we care about. Whether it be friends, family members, acquaintances, bosses even, significant others, partners. We all suffer loss, and we don't all know how to go through the grieving process in a healthy way. That's my first question. And my backup question to that is, have you figured out any lessons behind the loss of Peter? What lessons have you figured out for yourself or for others that you care about? That's a backup.
The grieving process is essential in all areas of our life. If we're healing ourselves and we go through an interpersonal process, we heal ourselves and we let go of old parts of ourselves, those parts die and we go through a grieving process. When we lose people who are very close to us, we go through a grieving process based upon the feelings that come up inside of us. So the key to all of this is have your feelings. Whatever the feelings are, have them. Allow yourself to have them. Find somebody who can maybe support and guide you through the feelings. But allow the feelings to come up and have them. And just have them. If it's sadness, if it's anger, if it's joy, whatever, just have those feelings. As I'm going through Peter, there's sadness. Sometimes I get so friggin' angry at him because I know him for 20 years. There's sadness, and sometimes there's some amazing amounts of joy because of where he helped me in my life. He was in my life and helped me for two incredibly life-changing situations that he was a part of. So it's the key to all of this, and the key to all of life is have your feelings. Have your feelings. Have all of your feelings. And when judgment and shame comes up of those feelings, just know that that's there. So that's the part of the grieving process. And if the feelings get intense, call somebody. When Peter passed away on that Thursday, I was on the phone constantly for 3 days straight with people, calling me calling a couple of people. And what we realized is, I need to talk to somebody about this. I need to go through this. I needed to talk to somebody about this. And then the first thing I would say was, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? What are you feeling? What are you feeling? So it's about those having those deep feelings, and that's the grieving process. And the reason why feelings are so important is because attached to those feelings is energy. So when we're feeling sad, there's energy attached. When we're feeling angry, there's energy attached to that. When we're feeling joy and we're laughing, there's energy attached to that. It's about allowing the energy to move in our body as opposed to suppressing and repressing that energy in our physical body. That's what's really important in the grieving process. And there's a beginning, end, and middle to the grieving process. But it's not about saying, when will this end? It's about allowing the process to take care of itself. But the way you can, quote unquote, expedite the process is about having your feelings all the time, and allow the feelings to move, to move, to move, to move. That's how you have the grieving process, and nurture yourself through it. Nurture yourself through the grieving process. And in this day and age, one of the reasons why it was so, when I look at Peter, is he just got it to reach out to people. And the reason why it was a challenging to reach out to people, because then he would be revealed to those people. But his judgment of himself, then people are going to see the sham of who I am if I actually show them that I'm feeling vulnerable, that I'm feeling this. So in the grieving process, you don't have to judge and shame where you are, because people aren't. That's pretty much how, and allow the process to take care of itself.
Thank you for sharing that. I know this is, it's a process, and at times it is, we're kind of going through the roller coaster ride of those emotionals, those feelings. The key is to have the awareness that you have them, and then have an outlet someplace, somewhere, someone that you can express them. Because when we're able to put them out in the universe, at least for me, as I went through some significant grieving over the past 34 months in my life, I had somebody that I could reach out to, that I could talk with, that I could express my feelings as I was feeling them. And that release freed me, totally freed me from the bondage of living in the pain, and allowed me to grieve it in the healthiest way that I could. And up until that point, I had never grieved any loss in a healthy way. I didn't know how, because I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. I didn't know what my emotions were most of the time. So I thank you for sharing that.
Jay, what is healthy is to grieve.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's healthy to grieve. It's healthy to have your feelings. It's healthy to connect with people. It's all healthy. It's healthy to grieve.
For you, any lessons on the backside of this?
Oh, I'm telling you, I've learned a lot of lessons. My life has changed in the last 2 weeks. My outlook of life has changed in the last 2 weeks. I have released so much wounding, attachments through this, that I saw with Peter, that was a mirror for where I was. And I saw that mirror and I went, wow, how I was judging myself, how I was shaming myself, how I was not joyous, how I was paying more attention to what isn't in my life, or what I had labeled as aspects of my life that were pretty crappy, or things that happened to my life where my focus of attention wasn't on all the cool things that are going on in life. And I don't mean that that's where our focus of attention will be all the time, because life is all encompassing. But I was placing more focus on what wasn't in my life, what I haven't done, this, that, and the other thing, comparing myself to others, comparing myself to where my life is, where others' lives are, even comparing what's in my bank account with other, say, photographers' bank account that I don't even know about. Just think about that. I was looking at a photographer going, oh my God, I could imagine how much money they have. What kind of an illusion is that? You see where all of these illusions come up, thinking that their life must be a hell of a lot better than my life. And what I realized through the last 2 weeks was I was placing more attention and focus on, as Michael would say, Archangel Michael would say, are you placing your focus and attention on what isn't in your life, what you haven't done yet, what you're shaming and judging, et cetera, or are you focusing on what is in your life, your accomplishments, what you're doing, who you are, and then where you want to go in your life? And through this, somehow, some way, that has shifted in my life in the last 2 weeks. And that's one of the wonderful things and wonderful gifts that my friend Peter has given me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It just hits me right in my soul. The fact that his death doesn't have to be a waste, that even if you're the only person that has been touched to that profound level of connection, then it was, I don't want to say worth it, but at least it wasn't in vain, it wasn't in waste. And I suspect that if there are other people in his life that you are friends with, that you have a relationship with, I suspect that others are coming away with the lessons that they need to learn that will profoundly impact their life today. Mm-hmm. And at least we could, even in the case of death, we can find the lesson. We can find what we need to be learning, so that we learn what we need to learn.
The key to all of this, man, I think if I was to sum this up, and for everybody, look at the illusions of your life, the illusions of what we've been taught, the illusion that, and I remember Peter saying this to me on the phone, Jeff, I'm 61 years old, and all these people have a nest egg in their life. So when they retire, they have a nest egg. And I thought about that. We're all taught, get your IRAs, have a nest egg, and this, that, and the other thing. And I said to him, and I didn't say much to him when that happened, because I was in that place of, oh my God. I was taught to have this, I was taught to have that. This person's doing this person's doing that. Have come away from all this convinced that I started looking at the illusions of what we have been taught we're supposed to have, and we're supposed to retire at 65 years old. Or we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to have that. And then we start measuring ourselves based upon this conditioning or these illusions. The illusion that I'm 60 years old, and I should be thinking about retiring in 5 years. To me, that's an illusion. I might have only X amount of dollars in my bank now at 60, but you know what? In 3 years, I can have 100 times that. I don't know. So it's really important, and I learned this too, and in talking with a lot of different people, look at your illusions of what maybe you bought into that's placing yourself so much judgment and shame in your life right now. Like my father, get a job, get a pension, get benefits, and you'll be safe and secure for the rest of your life. If that isn't a friggin' illusion, I don't know what is.
Well, then what happens is it's then endorsed and supported by, I say, external influences. For example, television,
right,
movies, Hollywood, politics. I mean, to schools. You know, where the illusions are, we're surrounded by them because of belief systems and what we see, hear, read, feel in the external. And
Michael asked this question on Monday in the monthly message that I bring in every month. Are you basing the life you're leading right now on the illusions that are being perpetrated in the world outside of yourself? Are you basing your life right now on the illusions that is being perpetrated in the world outside of ourselves? And who is perpetrating? Just like you just said, Jay. Seeing ads for TD Mutual on TV talking about your retirement accounts. Hey, I don't see Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones retiring. You know, Bruce Springsteen, 67. That guy is not retiring anytime soon. He's got more money than anybody that you know. Because it's so interesting because that doesn't matter.
Thank you. You know, see,
so that's actually the other side of the illusion.
Yes,
I'm going to keep working because I don't have a lot of money. Oh, and I'm going to keep doing this because I do have a lot of money, but that's not why I'm doing it.
Right.
So look at the illusions outside of yourself that are holding you quite possibly in a life that you're living now that you don't like.
Yeah, I refer to that as bondage or living in being a hostage.
Yep.
We are unfortunately, we are out of time for today. We did not touch on the other part of who you are today. And I'd love to invite you to come back and spend some time talking about how you became a published author. I'd like you to share a little bit about your book that you have published. I'd like you to share a little bit about the other work that you do that you're passionate about. So if that's okay with you, I'd love to have you back. We'll set another time in the future. But I would like to thank you, Jeff, for coming on and sharing what you shared with me today. I enjoyed our conversation. I enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more than I knew you an hour and change before. And do you have any parting words from our conversation today that we could perhaps leave on a real positive note for those that have caught us live or pick us up on a replay? Thank you if you were live, if you catch us on a replay. It doesn't matter when you show, it just matters that you do show. So thank you for joining us.
And I might get a little bit emotional about this because it goes back to my friend Peter and I have him in mind. Open your heart, break down the walls, break down the veil, open your heart to allow yourself to be seen, to know that you're worthy, to know that you're valuable, to know that you can have everything that you ever wanted. There's no boundaries, there's nothing about that, but know that you're loved for who you are and where you are in this very moment, even though where you are might not be where you want to be. Maybe there's aspects in your life right now that you're not into. You might be in financial trouble, and whatever that is, whatever illusion that is, and know that there is somebody out there that's going to pick you up, that's going to hold you, that's going to see your highest good.
Thank you. Well, you got me. Thank you so much for being on the show, Jeff. I may have lost him. He looks like he froze on the broadcast, but I think his message. I heard his message. And if you joined us live this afternoon, this morning, wherever you may be, if it's evening, if you joined us from the United States or from overseas, thank you for being here. Hopefully you heard something today that resonates with you, that helps you understand that we no longer have to live in the illusions of what we think is or are important in our lives, that we can tear down those illusions and we can just be truthful and honest with what's important and come home to our inner soul, our inner self, and understand what truly is important in our lives. Jeff, thank you for joining us again. Have a beautiful balance of your day, and we'll catch you next week on Real Men. Real Men, Real Talk, Raw. Thank you.